What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Tonight, I have with me the writer of Paranormal Hitmen as well as the editor of Paranormal Hitmen. I've got Brett Murphy and Matt Kund. These guys are also the co-founders of Ageless Press Comics and co-publishers of a cool Kickstarter comic called Dino Thrashers. Issue 2 is titled Fire and Ice, and it's getting near the end of its campaign. So we're going to be talking about Paranormal Hitmen, awesome series from Behemoth Comics tonight, as well as Dino Thrashers. So let's welcome them in. There's Matt, and Brett is maybe here. There he is. Video lag tonight, but audio was working good.
Well, thanks for having us. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you guys for coming on. Check the chat real quick. We got 2 people with us tonight so far. They're starting to trickle in. Jason from Claiming Comics and Jay Ramirez. So thank you guys for hanging out. We'll shout some people out later on as they hop in and say hi. So last time, Matt, when you were here with Noah, the artist for Dino Thrashers, we talked about a little bit of how you got into comics. So I'd love to hear Brett's story of how he got into comics and then into writing comics.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I grew up loving comics. Early '80s, or late '80s, '90s. With Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane and all those guys, and I never really grew out of it. Always read it throughout my life, and I knew one day I wanted to do something with comics, and then. When I was in college and right after college, I started writing for a couple of different music magazines, and that kind of got my writing back up and running. And, I had some ideas flowing for comics when I was writing with the music blogs. And, one day I just put pen to paper and started creating and got to where we are today.
Awesome. So music actually started out your writing. That's really awesome.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to work in music for a couple years, and had a great time. Got to meet a lot of cool people and see a lot of cool shows. And I was thankful I had that opportunity.
Awesome. So. Awesome book from Behemoth Comics that you wrote, and Matt, you were the editor on and had some backup stories in Paranormal Hitmen. I kind of think of it a little bit like Ghostbusters and Sopranos maybe together. What's your guys's kind of your brief summary of Paranormal Hitmen and how you would describe it to people?
You want to take it, Brett?
I think you kind of hit it on the head with like Ghostbusters meets The Sopranos. It's basically about these 2 hitmen who are working for a mafia family, and they get recruited into this government agency, and they have to track down ghosts while also being hunted by their former mob boss, who thinks that they've turned and gonna rat them out to the feds. And it's supposed to be just a goofy comedy type of book with like a lot of ghosts being killed and just a lot of humor to it.
So how long ago did you have this idea for Paranormal Hitmen? And let's get into a little bit, I guess, the process behind how this came to be published with Behemoth.
Yeah, so I've had this idea for a while to do a book, like a mafia themed book. It first started out not as doing anything with ghosts or paranormal type of activities. I had an idea to do a mafia book involving a kid or a robot, and I was just coming up with different ideas, and they weren't really coming out right. So one day I just had the idea to put them together with Ghost, and I was able to come up with a plot about a year or two ago, and once I came up with the plot, I started writing, and came up with a couple of scripts, and from there, I needed to find an artist that would fit the style of the book, and Matt had worked with Wilson, and I saw his Instagram page, and I said his style will fit the book perfectly, and I reached out to Wilson, and he was on board and wanting to draw the book, and um, he's I think he's a perfect artist for this book, and he also he came up with the ideas of the Black Dog, so it wasn't that he was just doing the art. He came up with different ideas for the book, which was great as well. Like he suggested putting the book in the 70s, and I was real thankful that he came on board to work on the book. And from there, once the pages, we pitched it and ended up going with Behemoth.
And Matt, you got to use kind of the other side of your comic brain in that you're on the editing side of this book.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like, instead of being on the side of creating the book and writing the story, to kind of flip things around and look at it from the other side?
Yeah, it was interesting. One thing that was very easy for me was that Brett had done a really good job of like story structure. So a lot of like, I didn't have to be like, you have a dangling plot point here, or we never came back and addressed that. He did a really good job of like structuring the book. So a lot of it was sort of the communications that I could have with Wilson. I saw some of the Brett's script beforehand, and then I saw pages getting turned in. So initially it was a lot of sort of ironing things out with Brett and Wilson, because I had worked with Wilson before. And the interesting thing is that Brett's writing style was very similar to mine. So I could see what he was doing, just sort of reading the script. And then when Wilson was turning in the pages, I could see it's still sort of coming to be. So I was just sort of working with those two, and then we got it working pretty well. There was things like early on, like we were discussing, like maybe having somebody like color the book, and Wilson was very modest at the time, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not the best colorist," and I'm like, "No, he's just being humble. He's really good at this, Brett. Trust me, he can color the book." So just all of that kind of stuff, and then once the book, we would finish an issue and I would edit it. I would go through, Brett and I would sort of trade notes like, "Hey, did you see this? Did you see that?" And we would do that. But it was, we would change maybe the placement of a word balloon, punctuation, and then just sort of follow it through. But Brett had done such a great job of setting everything up, the structure of it. You could follow the story, nothing, like I said, there was no sort of plot points that we didn't come back to. Everything gets tied up. So for me, I would do a read through to make sure everything made sense. And I never nothing like stopped me to go, "Hey, this doesn't read right, or this doesn't make sense." Mm-hmm. And then after that fast read through, I would do a slower read through where I would go, "Okay, do we have everything punctuated correctly? The balloons flow." So it was sort of like a quick read for the story, and then a slowed down read for, all right, are we hitting everything with the correct pronunciations, the correct punctuation, and are we, do we have a good sequence here? So that's how we did it. But it worked really well, I thought.
Awesome. And besides doing the editing, you also did some backup stories. How did those come about? Was it just from reading through everything? You got ideas of what might be happening in the world that wasn't part of the main story?
Yeah. So I think for me, I had read the first one, and Brett had done the sort of commercially sort of short story. So I was like, hey, can I take a stab at the short stories at the end? And I think Brett was, very nice to let me come on, but it also sort of those were two less pages that Wilson had to produce. So so we did those. So the first one I did focused on Agent McCoy as sort of a back story for her, and then the second one I did, Brett really he came to me with the idea for that one with Caesar and it being the afterlife, and so that one was more sort of he gave me sort of the premise there, and it was in a restaurant, and I was able to build it from there, and I really enjoyed that one. That one's a little bit more jokey, sort of humorous, where the first one was sort of fit really closely into the world of Paranormal Hitmen and that agency that they have.
Awesome. We'll bring a question back over to Brett here. So looking at some of our characters, we've got, Gene and is it Devon or Devon? Pronunciation.
I use the Philly accent. I Devin.
Devon. Okay. So Gene and Devon, they're really not your typical henchmen like for the mafia, but at the same time, they've got some of those quirks of those like stereotypical characters that you might find. There's something funny about them. They're not, but these guys are really they're not just those background characters, and they're individuals. So is there someone that you drew inspiration from for these characters? Because like I said, they do have those types of characteristics.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of based off of. It's kind of funny. I mean, these guys aren't him, but I grew up and still go to Eagles games. Philadelphia Eagles games with season tickets, and we sit up in the old 700 level where it's reality and crazy. And they're kind of based off these two guys that sit over a section from us that I'll have to try to see if they're there this year to take a picture and post it on social media because they're kind of based off of them in a way because they were always like these big tough guys, but like really kind of comical and like kind of teddy bears at heart.
Yeah.
So I kind of drew inspiration from them for how we came up with the character, mixed in with a little bit of like the different mafia characters from different movies throughout the year. So it's kind of a mixture of both.
And one thing I think Brett did really well is in the first couple of pages of issue one, like where they're driving together, you get a real feel for these two guys. I mean, they bust each other's balls and they joke with each other, but you can tell that there's a respect and almost like a brotherly love between the two, which without sort of having to go into a lot of like detail, Brett conveys that really quickly in those first couple of pages while they're driving in the car.
Yeah, it definitely like right away, one, their relationship, but two, like you can tell that they're not just joking around on the job either. Like they're doing their job, they're taking it serious, but they know when they can kind of do those things to each other. So definitely well done with their character creation and displaying that in the first little bit of the book.
Thank you. Yeah, it's that's what we're going for. Kind of make them these tough guys, but they're really brothers at heart, and they really care about each other at the same time.
Absolutely. So if you were to, this is a question I like to ask about characters in the books, but if you were to have Agent McCoy or Gene or Devon cast in like a live action or animated version of Paranormal Hitmen, who would you want to play their roles?
That's a good question. Man, I know See, McCoy was kind of based off of Pam Grier with old 70s movies.
Mm.
I guess now, maybe. Man, I'm not sure. Well, I know Gene and Devon, I would want to stick with a Philly theme. So if I went that route, I would go Bradley Cooper and Will Smith.
Nice.
Okay.
I mean, stick with the Philly guys. And for what's her name? The lady that played in the Watchmen series, Regina.
Oh,
What's her
okay.
last
Regina
name? Hill?
King.
Okay.
Regina King. Regina King. Yeah, I think she could probably play a good McCoy.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was getting some like Misty Knight vibes off of her too, with like some of that. So I was thinking maybe I don't remember who played Misty Knight in the Netflix show. That was in my head a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that, or maybe the woman who was Domino in the second Deadpool movie.
Yeah.
She would play good. Yeah,
that would be good.
Yeah,
interesting. So with the way that we see issue number 4 end, definitely leaves us with a cliffhanger. Plans for volume 2, or kind of leaving that open to the future of creation?
Yeah, I mean, I have next 4 issues kind of plotted out. For down the line, if we decide to go that route and put out a volume 2, that's why I kind of wanted to leave it open ended, because you never know in the future, what's out there. And I feel like the second volume would be cool to kind of feature the Black Dogs more, because I feel like we can do a lot with that concept.
Yeah, and the way that we've kind of gotten a teaser of who the Black Dogs are, but there's still a lot of mystery surrounding them. That definitely would love to see that, come about and find out more about them.
Right.
Yeah, because it presents a larger world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's the good thing about volume 1s, is that you can tease a larger world that's out there, and depending on what happens with that first volume, you can leave that open to go into that world.
Yeah, because I think at the end of 4, Devon and Gene are and they have sort of like resolutions, but their resolution can certainly be continued in future stories. So it's not to say that like the first 4 issues don't like give them a character journey and a character arc where they start one place and they finish someplace where they're certainly changed people, but there's certainly room for more stories to be told.
Yeah, and I definitely want to do more with who's involved with the agency that they're working for, with the director and the weapons division and stuff like that.
Yeah. Lots of future things to explore. So I hope you get to have a volume 2 put out there, and for everyone to be able to read that in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it.
So I think this question came up with you, Matt, last time. So bring this one to Brett. Who would you say is a big influence on your writing style?
I mean, I try not to like really get into copying somebody unnecessarily, but like a big influence that kind of somebody that I kind of wish to be as a writer would definitely be Claremont. I grew up loving the X-Men, and that's a goal of mine, is to one day get to where he was in his writing career.
Okay.
And yeah, I would definitely say Claremont's a writing idol of mine.
Awesome. It's always a good place to aim for.
Yeah, you gotta set your goals high, and hopefully one day achieve them.
Absolutely.
And also, I met him before too, and he's one of the nicest guys I've met in the comic industry, and he's just really down to earth and really humble. So that's a plus.
Awesome. So I heard Matt's side of the kind of the founding of Ageless Press last time. We'll get Brett's perspective on it this time. How did you guys decide to put this company or group together to start making comics like Dino Thrashers?
Yeah, I came to Matt because I liked, his different works, and Matt. I feel like Matt has a lot of writing experience and a lot of knowledge when it comes to, comics and comic industry, and we came up with the idea to form Ageless and start getting some books out there, and the first one being the Thrashers with Noah and Mike, and yeah, I mean, we came together. We want to put out books. We're working on more stuff to put out, and the first Dino Thrashers campaign was a success, and the next one has a couple of days left, and I'm thinking that we'll be able to get it funded in time before time runs out. But yeah, more things to come with Ageless, and you know, uh, we got a lot of stuff working behind the scenes, and it's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just Brett had done a book on Kickstarter, and I had done a couple of books on Kickstarter. We just sort of started this sort of online friendship, and I had him on my podcast when his Kickstarter was going on. So we were just sort of trading ideas, and we were just like, hey, you have this sort of horror imprint and with the legacy comics, and I sort of have this sci-fi sort of imprint with sort of my works with the Forever comics. So we were like, hey, if we bring these things together, we can hopefully maybe combine an audience. And so we just sort of each day we're just sort of trading emails and IMs. It just sort of stuff came from there.
Yeah, like Matt said, each day we're kind of trading ideas and thinking of different things, and through that we Matt has a friendship with Noah, who's the artist on Dino Thrashers, and I believe it was Noah that brought us the book, and we took a look at it and liked it, and went forward with it to publish it.
Yeah, I've read issue 1 of it. It was awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing issue 2. The Kickstarter page, let me drop. It's down in the description below, but we'll also drop it in the chat for anyone that's live with us right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, go ahead. No, just Brett and I had this idea for creating our sort of publishing, imprint, and Noah, who I work with closely, got contacted through Instagram by Mike. And he sort of presented him this idea, and Noah was like, hey, I have these 2 friends that are looking to start a publishing company, and Noah brought the idea to me, and then I ran it past Brett. He gave it the okay, and we're like, yeah, let's do this. So this was sort of our first thing in 2020. We got started early, March, everything kind of went crazy for us. But no, to still publish a book through 2020 and get it out, it was a lot of fun, and we're hoping to continue it with 2. And as Brett said, we have another thing sort of in the pipeline. Again, this is another thing that actually was brought to us by Noah. But again, it was just we're starting off small, and sort of working on these things, and it's very important for us to have like one thing out the door before we before we go with the next thing. So the next thing that we're sort of working on, pages are being drawn and worked on. But we're not going to launch that until we're able to ship all of these books out the door, because it's very important to us that we deliver on one thing before we move to the next. So but we're constantly moving forward and trying to build things. So
yeah, and the art on this is awesome. You got lots of different cover artists as well. Wilson did one of the covers, did he not?
He did one of the covers to issue 1. He did the it's this one right here. It's sort of an homage to there's a G.I. Joe issue, G.I. Joe 53, where Snake Eyes is standing there, and he's holding an Uzi, and the border is different Marvel characters. So we did that with the Thrashers here. Yeah, so I mean, if you're a fan of Behemoth Comics and you want to get some more Wilson art, it's available here in the Kickstarter.
Yeah, and you can get all 6 covers, 3 from issue 1, 3 from issue 2. Is that right?
Yeah, issue C or issue 2 cover C is being drawn right now. It's going to be another homage cover. This time we're going to homage a Transformers comic. And the new thing for the second Kickstarter, the Fire and Ice Kickstarter, is there's going to be a limited number of sketch covers that Noah's going to do. So those are sort of one of a kind art items, and you can have a Dino Thrasher, or if you want Daredevil, or if you want Gene from Paranormal Hitmen drawn on your Dino Thrashers, you could have that as well.
Gene as a dino on.
Yeah.
And you can get yourself sketched as a dino. Is that right?
That's one of those. So you send a photo into Noah, and he will use that likeness to create you as a dinosaur of your choosing.
Yeah, original art for the comic. Any retailers out there wanting to get some stock of this?
Yeah, we sold a couple of those in the first one. There was a couple of stores that went in and got I think 5-10 issues a piece. So that's another possibility for folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of different options for the Kickstarter. And I mean, the homages that you guys are talking about that the covers were done for are, I feel like, some of the inspiration for the, not the story itself, but the feeling of the story of the, you've got G.I. Joe, you've got Transformers with Autobots versus Decepticons. We've got the Dino Thrashers versus the Pterosaurs.
Correct.
So I'm cheating. I have my notes on that.
Oh, no worries. So the cover that you have there, the one with the yellow background, that was done by Leonard Wu, who's an actor. He's an online friend, acquaintance of Mike, the writer. He's been in Marco Polo on Netflix, Bosch on Amazon, and he was in Battle Angel Alita. So he did this one for us. Yeah. So it's interesting to have somebody, from Hollywood involved in the project.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just having the kind of the crossover of the teams of Paranormal Hitmen and Dino Thrashers here with Wilson. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think just about everything I've done, Wilson has helped me out in some way. So it was nice to have him come in and do a cover here for this. So.
And I think, isn't Dino Thrashers in who's the guy in DC? Isn't it in the Library of Congress?
That's correct.
State Museum.
Yeah, so Brett and I did a signing for Paranormal Hitmen at Phantom Comics in Washington D.C. And there was a gentleman, Michael Rhodes, who runs a blog, the DC Comics blog, not like DC like Detective Comics, but like DC like Washington D.C.
Okay.
And he came by, and he got multiple copies of Paranormal Hitmen, one for his personal collection, and then he got multiple copies of Dino Thrashers, and a set went to the Michigan State Library that has this extensive sequential art and storytelling library, and then Dino Thrashers and Paranormal Hitmen are registered somewhere in the Library of Congress. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
there's the art version of you guys right here. Did Noah do these?
No, those
I think
are
Matt did those.
Yeah, those are me.
Nice.
Those are everybody provided a photo from the team, and I used a lot of photo reference to draw us.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we have the budget there, and our risk and challenges. I mean, I feel like our risk and challenges aren't that great right now. I mean, the production of the book continues throughout the Kickstarter. We learned a lot of things from the first one. We're going to use the same printer. I was ecstatic with Comics Impressions. The customer service was great, and the print quality was really amazing. Like when we did that signing in DC, that was the first time Brett had seen them like physically, and he was very impressed with how they came out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I would say that's something I think Behemoth has done a great job with, like with Paranormal Hitmen, is even I think they changed printers during it, but and they feel a little bit different. The quality is still amazing on the last one, just as much as the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the cardstock on the covers.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Brett, I cut you off.
Oh no, yeah, I was gonna say, they feel amazing, and it's a shock when you first told it, how incredible the print quality is.
And that I think goes a long way. So the fact that you guys have found someone to publish with that does that good of a job, that you pick it up and you say, I like this. We always talk about it as you don't want to be afraid to open your comic book up because you're afraid you're going to rip it, or you're going to like have ink come off on your hands, which I have had ink come off on my hand before. From a larger publisher. I'm not going to say names, but that was interesting to see. And that's I think it goes a long way with finding the good quality to put out there.
Yeah, it's always an interesting moment for somebody who's an indie creator, and you open your door and the box is there, and you get the knife and you cut it open, and you're like, all right, I approve these proofs, but I haven't actually seen these books in print. So like, did everything turn out right? So you open it, you look at that first one, you flip it through, and then you have a sigh of relief, like, ooh, everything worked out fine. So that's always an interesting moment.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, I just got some other Kickstarter comic in. I haven't gotten to feel it yet, but looks like it came out good. So it's interesting to see how that all ends up. Any other things you want to tell the people watching about Dino Thrashers?
Well, one of the things I'll say is that it's a very lighthearted book. Sometimes when I sit down and I look at my stack of comics, there might be, a really serious book, say like a superhero book, but it's got a lot of like dread and suspense and like, people sad and moody. But sometimes I'm in the mood for just a lighthearted read. I think of like maybe like a Kirkman book where people are just, punching each other in the face for 22 pages, and it's just silliness. So sometimes like I'm in the mood for like a fun comic, and this is certainly like a fun comic. So and the other interesting thing is that we've handed this out to a number of like people in different age ranges. Like I gave it to my son, who's 13, and he enjoyed it. I gave it to Brett's. Yeah, I gave it to Brett's kid at the signing, and I had no qualms like giving him the book, because while there's dinosaur violence in there, it's nothing that's sort of overly gory or anything like that. I mean, they fight each other, but there's not like gore and blood and stuff like that. So like a smaller kid could read it, and then somebody that's maybe more closer to our age range, they could read it, and they sort of get the nostalgic feel for sort of playing with their action figures and the things that they would have loved as a kid. And we also joke that Noah gave it to his mom, who's 60, and she enjoyed it. So, that 18 to 35-year-old sort of target demographic is what, sponsors and like, marketing agency wants. We're going for the 6 to 60 age range for marketing our book. So we're shooting a little wider than that.
Yeah. And reading it, I agree. It's got that full spectrum of people who are going to like it, especially people that were into, in the, what would that have been, the 80s, 90s, when we had the, G.I. Joe, Transformers being a big part of it, TMNT in there. People that love watching that on TV or reading some of that stuff. This is right up, their alley.
Yeah, it's good old fashioned. It's sort of a love letter to 80s cartoons and 80s comics. Those properties, like you mentioned, the G.I. Joes, the Transformers, the Thundercats. So it's sort of like a mashup of all that stuff. So yeah.
And I like that it mashes those up, but it doesn't it's not taking anything straight from them. It's just bringing you that vibe of how it felt looking at those properties.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there is something potentially planned from Ageless after Dino Thrashers 2.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be another Kickstarter project that once this one wraps up, you'll go through the crowdfunding again, or looking at different avenues?
Yeah, I think our model for a little while here is going to be to crowdfund our books. We're certainly looking to grow. It would be nice if eventually we get to the point where we can skip the crowdfunding part and maybe be large enough that it's straight to a previews catalog and straight to shops. But for right now, sort of building slowly, it's going to be for the next couple of projects, it's going to be crowdfunding and looking to grow that way. But I enjoy the crowdfunding. It's stressful, but it's really nice to be able to deal directly with somebody who wants the book. Like, if we were to be a smaller company, putting these things in previews, it would there would be a step between us, but right now it's more direct. It's us, the creators, directly to the consumer. So that's nice as well.
Yeah, I agree with Matt. The goal is to build up your fan base, and then one day, when you're ready, take it to Diamond and maybe a Simon & Schuster for the trades and get it out that way.
Yeah, I remember talking to Nathan from Behemoth, and he was talking about when they first were like, we're going to go to Diamond. That was just like the big moment of we're in the Diamond catalog now. We've made it. This is awesome. We got a little bit more help here. We don't have to go through the crowdfunding, but they started out that way too, with crowdfunding I think first couple projects, he was saying.
Yeah, and one thing I find interesting is and I like these books a lot, and I'm big into the Kickstarter scene, but if you see a lot of scout books, those are books that did really well on Kickstarter beforehand. And I don't know if it's a combination of the folks from Scout reaching out to those folks and saying, hey, do you want to publish here? Or those folks going to Scout and saying, hey, I had this really successful Kickstarter that did, these numbers of backers, and like, do you want to take it? But I've seen that as well.
Yeah, I was just at a con in Pensacola, Florida. It was this past weekend, and Scout Comics was there, and I think that's how Stake started from them.
Okay.
David Byrne, because he was talking about they were doing another Kickstarter for like a spinoff for it, and they had all of their Kickstarter covers for that, and they had some of the ones from the original Stake stuff. So that's a perfect example of what you're talking about there.
Yeah, and if it works for Keanu Reeves to kickstart his book and then have Boom publish it, I don't feel bad about us going to Kickstarter first and seeing what happens. So
yeah, and that's how you start to build up, like you said, build up the people who want to read the books and then get them into Diamond, and you already got a guaranteed sell point there.
Yeah, and one thing you find out doing a Kickstarter, which I think would probably be helpful if you do make the step to going to the previews catalog, is that we're making these comics soup to nuts ourselves. It's a script, it's us producing the art, it's us putting it together, it's us taking it to the printer, it's us fulfilling, putting the stuff in envelopes and doing it. So like I think that knowledge that we get there will be very helpful as we progress and hopefully take this to larger, bigger things. So
awesome. For I guess for both of you, do either you have your own writing projects that you're working on right now?
I'll let Brett go first.
Yeah, so I'm actually working on a couple things. One's a kid's book that's not going to be it's not comics related. It's going to be like a kid's picture book. And then working on something now that's I guess I'll find out more info on tomorrow, but it's kind of like early production stages. But yeah, other than that, just working on some other stuff with Paranormal Hitmen behind the scenes, and working on different stuff for that as well.
Awesome. Is there any news for Paranormal Hitmen being in a trade paperback yet?
So from what I was told last week, I believe it is coming out later this season because of the whole Simon & Schuster, Behemoth going with Simon & Schuster.
Yeah.
I think they used to put their trades out like right away after the fourth or the final issues. But since Simon & Schuster took over, I think they wanted them to kind of push it back so they can get caught up. So I think it's going to be up for like pre-order like next month or the month after that. And then later this season, it will be in a trade paperback.
I've been looking around and seeing that Behemoth's website sold out of most of the issues, and most online retailers are too. So that's good news going into trade paperback that be available for people to read.
Yeah, and I appreciate everybody, like the support everybody's shown for the book, and especially overseas. I was shocked, like in England and Australia, like the amount of retailers that were buying overseas. I thought it was pretty cool. I think somebody sent me a video the other day. There was a French YouTuber that bought the book and reviewed it. And it's all in French, so I don't know. It could be fashion, that's all I know. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I think the trade paperback will do well. Like myself, I actually like waiting for the trade paperback, so I have all the issues in one instead of just buying them weekly. So I think that would be a good thing as well.
Mm-hmm. And I know some people are having some troubles getting all the issues, so that'll help them be able to catch up on it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'll be nice for everybody to get a chance to take a look, and yeah, it'll be a good thing.
Awesome. And what about you, Matt? Any?
Yeah, I actually have I have two things in various states of development. I never thought I would be this guy, but it's too early to say anything. But it's better.
It's okay.
It's a slight improvement in my writing career where everything was you have to wear these as a badge of honor, but there's a lot of no's when you first start out. So it's nice to progress to the point where I get to say I have things, but I can't say until everything is signed and all the everything is official. But yeah, I have two things. One was a thing that I had started before COVID, and it sort of got stuck, but it's recently got some traction. I got my art team sort of ramped back up to do some pages. The other thing I have is a lot further along. The first issue is almost done, so I'm pretty excited about that one.
Awesome. And so I was talking about, I was just at Pensacola, the Pensacon they called it. Those have started to come back up. It was a decent sized con considering how early we are into those ramping back up. You guys have any plans to attend any in the future? Still waiting for more development with things, or?
Well, for me, I'm going to be doing Awesome Con in Washington, D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to be doing Baltimore. Awesome Con is like mid to late August, so I feel with another 3 months or so, hopefully, more vaccinations, more safety procedures. And then Baltimore is going to be in October.
Yep.
Brett and I have sort of actually floated the idea of having a table at Baltimore, so that's a possibility.
Awesome.
Yeah, and for me, like the same as Baltimore Con, this possibility. I think I'm going to New York Comic Con in October. Other than that, I think all the cons that are around the Philadelphia area have been canceled or pushed back. So it's kind of, there's only one con that's like really, really small, like a neighborhood type of con, the South Jersey Geek Fest. I mean, it's a cool place to go, but it's not like a big convention. But yeah, I think other than that, everything else canceled around here.
Yeah, I was surprised that the one happened. It was kind of last minute that I got a lot of the stuff together for it because people were unsure if it was gonna happen or not. But it ended up being okay, and not too packed, and people some were wearing masks, some weren't. Hopefully, the ones that weren't were vaccinated. I wouldn't have been there if I was not vaccinated because I would not have felt safe in that large of a group. But I'm actually planning on going to Baltimore. So that'll be like the first large one back, and a group of friends I've made, across the country. Actually, we're all going to meet up there.
Very cool. Yeah.
Nice.
We'll definitely have to hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else that you guys want to plug tonight? Whether that be for Paranormal Hitmen, Dino Thrashers, Ageless, other projects that you guys got going on?
I mean, you can go, Matt.
Okay. The top of mind is Dino Thrashers. 4 days. these are going to probably be 4 crazy days as we make the push to get this funded. Other than that, check out Constructing Comics podcast. That's a podcast that I do with Noah. We bring a lot of indie creators on to talk about the books they're making. A lot of folks that are in the Kickstarter world, and we've been lucky enough to have some folks that have done some big 2 comics either for Marvel or DC. So just check that out as well.
I just dropped the link to the SoundCloud for that, I think, and then dropping the Apple Podcasts link as well.
Yeah, I early on I set that out to be pushed to all the podcasting services, but generally I share the SoundCloud link with people because I don't know, everybody's in their different ecosystems. So if I send somebody a Apple Podcast and they're on a an Android phone, so I just to be safe, I generally just send people to SoundCloud stuff.
Yeah, I started converting some of the interviews over to just audio for podcast kind of form, and I was using Anchor, and I don't think it sends it to Apple, but it sends it to like a bunch of other ones all at once. So that's still exploring how to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Did you have any other plugs?
Yeah, go check out Dino Thrashers Kickstarter. A couple more days left to go fund that great issue 2. And keep a lookout, Paranormal Hitmen, the trade paperback, and later this season. And I think right now also, obviously, go check out your LCS. I always preach that. Go to your LCS first to try to find the book. But if your LCS doesn't have it, it's available digitally on Amazon now, on the Kindle, and on Comixology if you can't find it at your local LCS.
And I'll add to that, if you see a book like a Behemoth book or a Scout book, and you see it in previews before it comes out, make sure you tell your shop that you want it, because if you don't and you just expect to walk in there and see it sitting on the rack, you might not. So it's very important, if the book doesn't have Batman or Spider-Man on it, it's Paranormal Hitmen, you gotta tell your LCS to order you a copy. So I'll just sort of back what Brett was saying there.
Which that does remind me, I think today's Behemoth's initial order cutoff for a lot of their June, I think it's their June books, if I'm not mistaken. So that's they're not on the final order cutoff yet, like a lot of those other books are, and I think Scout's not on Diamond's final order cutoff. So those books sometimes slip through the cracks on people, and if you don't look in your previews catalog and order them in advance, like you were just saying, they get lost and they may not even be in the shop.
That or you're going on eBay and paying marked up costs from somebody who did go and pre-order it. Yeah.
Sorry, it's the July solicitations for Behemoth.
That's one thing too. That's a good point. I don't know if there's any other writers, watching the show or people that are trying to get into writing, but if you have a book in previews or the catalog, don't be afraid to get out there too and just hit up all these comic shops, as many as you can, to get your book to them. Just because you're in Diamonds doesn't mean that every retailer is going to put it in their stores, because they might not know, if you're working for a smaller publisher, they might not know about it. So, that's one thing I think that helped with Paranormal Hitmen is, I went out to all these comic shops and, kind of pitched them the idea, and a lot of them said yes, and, they were great to work with. And, that's one thing, that's the one advice that I would give to writers is, you got to market yourself and, reach out and, and get your book in the shops.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. It's sort of one step to, get your book into previews, but it doesn't end there. Like it's almost the same. It's almost the same grind as a Kickstarter. You gotta get out there and get the word. That your book's in previews, and you got roughly 3 months to order it. So it doesn't. It's sort of a nice achievement, but the work doesn't end once you're in previews.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to point out on the Behemoth website there are 2 copies of Paranormal Hitmen 4 in stock. So if you're missing number 4, you got 2 shots, 2 shots to get it.
There you go.
I think
they might have.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, they might. I don't know if they have more that they might have 2 if it does sell, because I think somebody showed me that. Yeah, I think those got restocked. Somebody said, "Hey, the book sold out on their website," and then I went the other day and it said they had like 7 left, and I think issue 1 was sold out, and now it looks like they have. Says they must have got like a reorder or something like that for some of the books.
Like it. This is good news because I know someone who needs 2, 3, and
Vietnam
4.
Horror was sold out. Yeah, Vietnam Horror was sold out too, and I think they got restocks on a couple of them as well.
Awesome. Yeah, so never know what's going to happen.
If your LCS, if your LCS doesn't have it, don't go on eBay and pay $7 or whatever they're going for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, check Behemoth site.
I think did we see like a crazy like $60 asking price for the variant to 1 a couple of days after it came out?
And you can get covered.
I thought it was pretty funny.
$3.99.
Yeah, I think it was the homage cover. I think people were put up for like $20 or something like that.
Yeah, I think 60 was the crazy high that I saw.
But yeah, here it is. There's copies available, so go get them. If you've missed out before, you can go grab them now. And don't pay eBay prices.
No.
Hey, Astro Wizard. only a little late. We're about to wrap up here, but actually, you guys were talking about other people trying to start out. These guys are in probably a similar place as you guys are right now. They've got an Indiegogo instead of a Kickstarter though that's going on right now.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like a fantasy book. But yeah, so it's a lot of people that are working their way into the comic world, and I love it because that means there's more good stories out there for us to read.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, we got to start from the top.
play the intro music.
Yeah, right. All right, hold on. Let me get the countdown going. No, I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking with me. Seeing a comment that hadn't popped up here on Twitter asking for help promoting their Marvel books. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if Marvel books need promotion beyond just the Marvel people doing the promoting, then yeah. I mean, all the independents definitely need that self-push and self-promotion out there for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so
yeah.
Again, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it, and welcome. Thank you for coming back again, Matt. Want to see Dino Thrashers make it over that finish line here in the next couple days, so we can keep seeing more fun dinosaur team comics. And thank you, Brett, for writing a cool story in Paranormal Hitmen and for coming on and talking tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
And thanks everyone who is watching and everyone who's watching this later. Really appreciate you guys. Have a nice night.